Welcome back for another book review. Today, we're talking about this one. This is The Modern Witchcraft Guide to Fairies, your complete guide to the magic of the Fae by Skye Alexander. As the title would suggest, it talks about fairies. It's more of an introduction to really mostly Celtic. There's a couple little call outs to others, a little bit for the Norse. I think there was like maybe one or two for, I think it was African, maybe like Japanese, but really it's Celtic. So Irish, Welsh, you've got the Merlin and Arthur. How are you supposed to say that word? Arthurian? But then I hear author Ian, and I'm like, that's not how is that word? And then you question your life. So anyways, the Celtic ones. The first half really talks about, you know, setting the stage. And it's about the first third of the book, and then 2/3 of the book is various spells that are using the aid of the Fae. I gave it a 4 out of 5. As far as fairy books go, it's pretty good. Most of the ones I've read have sucked, so this is actually not too bad. It goes into just a little bit of it. It's not telling you about the different courts and the different systems and the different, like, societies, basically, which DJ Conway had in her books, which was a ride, to say the least. It's a little bit more toned down from that. It also does go over a few variations. You know, you have elves versus dwarves versus brownies. There's the variations. You have the land spirits. And it goes through all of that. It's got just a nice little... It doesn't spend too much time on any one thing. It's just an introduction to give you an idea. The spells are relatively simple to get through as well. There's nothing, like, terribly complicated. More than I would want to do personally. Some of these spells are a little iffy on consent, but as many people will tell you who work with the Fae, if you're working with them, morality is the thing that you need to question. Like, there's a lot of how they would do things versus how most of us would do things, and so, you know, mostly consent involving, like, other people, you know, a lot of love spells and stuff. But also, I mean, the argument could totally be made for healing spells and for protection spells. Personally, I like to get consent from people before I do any magic on them, and this book does not follow that mindset at all. As for, like, the accuracy of the information, for the most part, I think it's pretty accurate. The thing is, I don't know a whole lot about the Fae, and there's no sources. Where did she get her information from? I don't know. So maybe it's accurate. The only thing that kind of stood out to me, and I did have to Google it, because I'm like, I mean, I guess kinda, maybe? And I don't know how to say the word, but in the Norse traditions, there is a word that is described for, usually it's the female ancestry line, but this was for just female spirits. So that was a little different. I'm like, I don't, and you know, trying to do a quick Google, it's like, you can kind of, it really gets any which way you want it to. Thanks to Google AI and paganism, it's really hard to search up answers. But I think that was the only thing that to me was like a little iffy. But again, because of that, I don't know what other things could potentially be a little off. And even then, is it completely off? I don't know. Just in my own readings for Norse things, mostly things we talk about over on Patreon, because oh my god, that community is toxic. But over there we usually talk about Norse things, and that is a very common one, and it's not something I normally see in these kinds of books, so when it is brought up in that way without mostly being your female ancestor line, that was really not normal. So I don't know. But other than that, like, I think for the most part it's probably pretty accurate, but again, no sources, and I personally don't know a whole lot about the Fae, but also every tradition ever is made up by humans, so does it really matter? Like, it's one of those times where, like, I know my atheist background kicks in, but, like, all religions were made up by humans. It's just whatever placebo you want to take. And, you know, if fairies is the one you want to do, great. It's awesome. It doesn't hurt anyone. If you think that you need to leave milk and honey outside to appease the Fae, that's literally not going to hurt anyone at all. So do it. And if you think that the Fae prefer almond milk and cashews, I don't think they're gonna be offended, you know? So just keep in mind, you know, maybe people who are a little more hardcore might have some issues with it. I don't really do much with the Fae. At most, I just kind of do a quick acknowledgement to the land spirits, but even then, they have not kept my yard safe from voles, so, you know, done petitions to them, and I still have my yard getting wrecked by voles again. Also, if you all know anything to keep voles away when you have pets, because everyone's like, go have garlic, and you're like, can't do that, that's toxic to dogs. And we've tried the like pet safe vole sprinkly stuff that you put on the yard. It smells really intense for like 2 days, then it just goes away, and they didn't care. And we've tried the little buzzy things in the ground that are like $80. Also didn't work. Half the time they barely do anything, and they're solar powered, and usually we have a lot of sun, so I don't think that's the problem. And no, they're still there. So the only thing that got them away was major construction for the past 1.5 years, and like within the month they were gone, they're back. So them being construction, then the voles came back. So, and I asked the land spirits, and they just don't care, I guess. And, you know, try not to like rapidly poison the yard for my dog. And then people are like, plant mint. I had mint. You know what they do? They ate the whole freaking thing. We've watched them. We had a whole like little section of the yard that was just mint. I can't swear, so I have to cut things. But we would watch these little buggers, and they would go, and you would watch the thing just wiggle, 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 boop, because they would just eat the whole freaking thing and just suck it down. Me and the voles are at war. And also, if you've never seen one up close, they are terrifying. Because I had one, we live in the basement, and so it landed in the windowsill, and it was at the window at like 2, 3 in the morning. And you know, when you're half asleep without your glasses and there's just this creature with big teeth clawing at the window, attacking the window to get at you, it scars you. So we're at war. And the land spirits don't care. So I don't know. That's the stuff where it gets me, where it's like, there's so much space. There's a neighbor next door who doesn't do anything to their yard literally at all. Never mows, never waters, literally nothing. Why can't they live there instead of in my yard? And they're not on the other side either, just ours. It's like, but why? Why do you have to be here? And I have a dog, you should be afraid. So anyways, I have beef with voles. So if you have tips to deal with them, let me know. I've tried coffee as well, by the way. Does not work at all, in the slightest. I've tried overwatering. We've tried keeping the grass short. Doesn't matter. I would recommend this book if you are just wanting to get started learning about the fairies, learning about the fae. This is a really good book. I think I would follow this up with Urban Fairies, because this is very like traditional, like woodland vibe fae sort of thing, very Celtic. Urban Fairies, that talks about how the fae has adapted to modern living with humans. That's still one of my favorite books I've read in a very long time. And if you're wanting to learn about the fae, I think that one honestly is better, but this one gives you a good like taste of an introduction, and then the other one's a really good like next read on the fae. So I would love to know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. A huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, I post 3 to 4 times a week. And until next time, thank you so much for coming along, and blessed be.